Welcome back, class. It's week 7 and we're closing into the end of the semester. Now let's get into today's lecture. For decades, affirmative action shaped education and workplace diversity in America. But how did we get here? And why has it now been struck down? Today, we're breaking down the origins of affirmative action, the major Supreme Court battles that shaped it, and what happens now that it's been reversed. To understand affirmative action, we have to go back to the days of Plessy versus Ferguson. Remember, this case made separate but equal the law of the land. The Supreme Court ruled that as long as there was some sort of facility or resource for Black people, no matter how destitute, it was considered legally equitable. Fast forward to Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. This landmark case ended legal segregation in public schools, ruling that separate but equal was unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. But let's be real, just because segregation was outlawed didn't mean integration happened overnight. Schools dragged their feet, and racial disparities in education persisted. In fact, the last school to desegregate was Cleveland High School in Cleveland, Mississippi. This happened in 2016. So what did the government do? It stepped in with policies to actively promote equal access to education and employment, policies that eventually became known as affirmative action. Affirmative action was introduced in the 1960s through executive orders by Presidents Kennedy and Johnson. These policies required federal contractors to take active steps toward ensuring equal opportunity. Colleges followed suit, using race as one factor in admissions to address systemic barriers created by centuries of discrimination. The goal? To level the playing field and create access where it hadn't existed before. Fast forward to 1978, and we get the first major Supreme Court battle over affirmative action. Regents of the University of California v. Bakke. Alan Bakke, a white applicant, was denied admission to UC Davis Medical School. He argued that the school's quota system, reserving 16 out of 100 seats for minority students, was unfair. The Supreme Court agreed, ruling that strict racial quotas were unconstitutional. But, and this is key, the court also ruled that race could still be considered in admissions as long as it wasn't the sole deciding factor. This set the foundation for modern affirmative action policies. For decades, race-conscious admissions policies survived legal challenges until 2023. In Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard and UNC, the argument wasn't about quotas. It was about whether race-conscious admissions discriminated against Asian American applicants. The Supreme Court ruled that considering race in college admissions violated the 14th Amendment, effectively dismantling affirmative action. This ruling reversed over 40 years of precedent and left schools scrambling to figure out new ways to maintain diversity without using race as a factor. So where does this leave diversity, equity, and inclusion, better known as DEI? DEI initiatives grew out of the civil rights movement and are deeply connected to affirmative action. While affirmative action focused on education and employment access, DEI programs work to create equitable environments within schools, businesses, and organizations. But now, DEI is under attack too. Since the Supreme Court's ruling, a wave of anti-DEI legislation has swept through state governments, and federal policies are shifting as well. Recent executive orders have targeted DEI initiatives in government agencies, and proposals like Project 2025 aim to dismantle federal DEI programs altogether. Supporters of these efforts argue that DEI has become discriminatory, favoring certain groups over others. But opponents say these rollbacks threaten progress toward true equity and inclusion. So what's next? Some universities are shifting to socioeconomic-based admissions, while others are considering percentage plans, like the Texas top 10% rule. But one thing is clear, this debate isn't over. Affirmative action may be gone, but the fight for equal opportunity continues. Imagine it's 2030. Without affirmative action, colleges and workplaces have shifted their diversity strategies. What do you think the long-term impact will be? Will diversity decline, stay the same, or grow through other policies? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more legal breakdowns.